Yo, dog, Kenny Boucher here. Next Level Painting, hitting you up on the literal best of all days, coming to you from the Beats Lab in Hollywood, California. We're doing it again with the eBay rescue / repaint. We got this khorne berserker. I'm gonna show you how I made him look this cool for my new chaos project. I'm adding some berserker style to my list. They just got that upgrade. I'm feeling it. So I'm gonna start the project off with some of these chroma airs. I get these from Spray Gunner. We're gonna use these for a quick pre-shade workup. I'm just gonna repaint this guy. He's not a bad looking model, honestly. When it comes to eBay models, this is solid, but the whole squad isn't painted this good. I'm gonna repaint them all anyway. So I'm gonna do a quick light coat right over it with black. I'm not even gonna strip it, not gonna use primer. I'm just using these air colors that I like. We're gonna add a little gray into the pot, mix it up, and just start doing some very light top-down highlight. And you can still see some of the red poking through some of the previous paint job. It doesn't matter if you can still see the reds. We're keeping it thin, we're keeping it light. We're just gonna start shifting it to a grayscale. It's practically meaningless, guys. Primer is basically just, so paint sticks to the model. Can be practically any color, especially when you're using your airbrush. We're going to add a little white to the mix. We're going to just progressively add more highlights to this pre-shade. Basically just a standard zenithal. I don't know. I get corrected no matter how many times I say it in how many different ways. Top-down highlight, keeping it gangster. Little backflow. Just deliver that highlight upon thine berserker ass. Straight down, looking good. I did make sure he had two axes because, blood for the blood god. Keeping it gangster. Also, I was heavily inspired by a new recent t-shirt design of mine, so gotta keep it, chaos in the Beats Lab this week. Got a tournament this weekend, and I want to get these guys done. So you can see we're just doing it, laying it down, dropping some aggressive little white highlights. Now it's important anytime you're gonna pop this kind of highlight down that you make sure the highlight goes to pure white. Now it looks like it's pure white, but it's not. Now it's pure white. Putting a little bit more in the pot, cleaned it out, stir it up. Just add a little bit more, a light dusting. Now we've got dozens of videos on the pre-highlight game. I'm kind of going fast on it because we're going to spend more time in the highlight phase doing some traditional brush work. But I got dozens of them. Just search it here on the platform of your choice, whether it's Patreon or YouTube. So now let's download some pure white. Trying to achieve some level of opacity here. If you've got to do it 2 or 3 thin times, that's better than one big thick coat. Too easy. Looking his best. Nice little berserker, old school, very charming model, but God, use some new ones. Looking his best. Yeah, so I do have a couple other paints I'm gonna roll out for this video. Let me get some hype for Spray Gunner and Creature Caster. I'm going to use some of their new transparents, but we're also going to use this Acryzion. This is a Mr. Hobby product. I get them from Spray Gunner. This is kind of like a glossy, just high pigment acrylic paint. They have a proprietary thinner. We're going to use it, thin it down. We're going to get it water thin, guys. So thin. I like this red. Has the look I'm trying to achieve here. We're going to stir it in there. I mean, I'm talking so thin, guys. Some people are like, thin it down to milk. I'm like, man, we're thinning it to water. Now, that's a little exaggerative. Like, thick water. Lemonade. Set it up. There, you see I'm testing it on the construction paper, making sure it's thin. I was like, yeah, maybe a couple more dollops. Let's get the backflow. Let's get the gangster gumbo to engage. And now the trick here is super thin, like 100% air, rock the needle back, so just the smallest amount of paint comes out. Don't be afraid to go 2 or 3 passes. Don't ever let it build all the way up to red in one go. It will invalidate the entire purpose of this pre-shade effect. It should look a little pink as it's building up. And then a lot of times what I do, spray down, walk away for a second, come back, spray down again. Give it some time to dry. Now, what's cool is these paints are all gloss paints. When you go this thin with a gloss paint, it's closer to a satin, which is going to kind of support my wash stage. But just know they also sell in this same set of paints a matte medium to like mattify the gloss of it, I guess. So just laying it down, he's getting red. He's getting some nice transitions. He's looking very natural, very cornate, which I like. In my old, 3rd edition mind, I remember painting these guys, and I used to love putting like nice black shades in them. I mean, God, Berserkers remind me of the old days. So now this is what I like to do. I'm gonna thin it down just a little bit more, even more watery. And what I like to do is let it dry for a minute, and anywhere I see any white still poking through in some of the crevices, we're gonna go on with such a thin atomized coat to, cover those gaps, mainly so it doesn't like get too thick or too built up on anything we just did. We're trying to keep it as transparent as possible, so it's just one of my tricks. I use it all the time. All right, pro acrylic, we got the new bronze, and we're gonna use the new light bronze, or light bronze is their old wave. This bronze is their new shit. So we're gonna be just dropping some bronze down, hitting that trim. We're gonna do it right now, guys. A lot of times we would stop right here. Just say, hey, we showed you some airbrushing techniques. Follow me on Twitch. Hey, follow me on Twitch first off. But I'm gonna do the whole thing right now. We're gonna show you the next level painting system all the way through. We just did the clean airbrushing step. Now we're gonna lock in those details. We got a number 2 sable brush from Breadgrass Games. We've got some pro acrylic bronze, and we're gonna lock in all that berserker stuff. Real simple, just keeping the paints kind of thin, getting lots of coverage. We're gonna lay it all down. Too easy. This is the 1-2 punch. There you see it's coming together. It's a beautiful looking color. I'm dropping a little bit of light bronze in on the edges just to kind of punch it up to 11. As I like to say, take it to 11 before you wash it back to 10. One of my techniques. Looking good. The charm of this old 3rd ed model looking so fly on the table. Love him. He's got a bandolier. We're gonna pull out some browns. We're gonna paint his, all the little details, all the little doodads. Just taking our time, making sure it's nice and smooth. All right, we're gonna whip out the old silver. Cut some of those accents in on the axes, those teeth. He's got a few silver parts, not that many. It's mostly gold or bronze or brass, whatever. Gold, metallic yellow. I don't care. I don't like delineate between all the different versions of metallic yellow and brown. I don't care that much. It's like red is red. The funny names. Light umber. Use that to do the ammo stuff, everything like that. But we're going to use it as the first base coat on the face. We're going to bring that cool skull effect. And a lot of times, if you guys are wondering how I like to build up my skulls, it's like I start with a brown base, a nice light brown. And then we'll build it up to ivory. Real easy. He's got this bandolier, like I said. I already painted that. Got to come back, knock in a few details. Pretty easy workup. This guy is not very detailed. Like by modern standards of Chaos Space Marines, these new ones are preposterous. Ludicrous. Feeling it. Dark neutral gray. This is one of the brand new heats from the Pro Acrylic line, Creature Caster. We're going to use it for all these, ligaments, the connector pieces. Sneak it in a couple of clutch spots. He's got some tubes and some hoses on his backpack, that OG backpack. Can't go wrong when you're trying to figure out what to do for an accent color. Like a dark gray or black almost always is gonna work. His gloves. I always forget these berserkers wore actually cloth gloves or leather gloves. Unique to modern Chaos Space Marines. You can see the folds in them, the fabric. So I'm gonna paint these. Give them the old black hands. Reminds me of the old ass artwork where they had 2 black hands and just nice bright red paint jobs. Maybe they threw another black accent somewhere. Like I said, it's just channeling the old school, man. You can even flip through the modern Chaos Codex and still see some of the pictures. Ivory, this is one of my favorite things in the world. Mix a little ivory into that light brown. Let's do a quick thin coat, kind of a glaze here. And we're just gonna, shift that brown toward that ivory. Start beginning to lay out the skull face, the iconic Berserker face mask. Grew up loving these guys. I was there when the White Dwarf article dropped and we got World Eater rules in 3rd edition. Oh, I was so happy. The old days. The cool thing about ivory though, guys, you can mix it in with the neutral gray, do a highlight, whatever you want. I'm gonna do a little experiment on this little tassel here. I'm gonna paint it ivory. let it dry, come back to it. Third pass on the face, start building it up, getting closer to the skull. Hit all the highlights, leave some of the neutral or the mid-tone in effect and intact. It's a little bit of a shadow, but ultimately it's gonna get it washed. It's like whatever. Don't overthink it. Be my advice. Just lock it in. So we're approaching NLP pre-wash, hot garbage phase. He's getting all of his love. He's getting all his details locked in. He looks okay, but he's about to look a whole lot better after we get the first series of washes down. You can see he's looking great. Big ass hands. Here we go. Mix a little ivory in with the neutral gray. Slap down some highlights. Take it to 11 before we wash it down to 10. Too easy. Don't overthink them. They don't need to be that sharp. They can be kind of broad, because we are going to be leaning on our oil wash. We've been fanatical on the dick of this Mr. Hobby multi-black, and I'm going to whip it out right here. So multi-black, you can get this from Spray Gunner's website. Preach the word. And of course, you need this solvent to make it work. So we're going to set up, just pile on the multi-black, but it's mostly solvent. I'm running it really thin, guys. That's my favorite way to run it. We're going to do an all-over wash, a nice healthy oil black wash over this entire berserker, and it's going to give him a sense of depth, a sense of drama. It's going to really up the contrast where it needs to, but the way it stains the model is the way it shifts. It's almost a lacquer. It's very interesting. It's not as great on the metals as like a traditional army painter wash, but it looks phenomenal on the colors. So we're going to go into hyperdrive right now, lock it all in, make it look its best. Build it up, and look at how that oil wash like absorbs into the basing. While I was letting the model dry, do some flock on the base. See, the oil just accidentally is already almost painted the base, just dripping on it. It's just amazing stuff. So it's important to stay in motion here. Don't be afraid to lean on the solvent. Manipulate the oil wash. You've got time. You can also subtract it with the brush. You just kind of wipe it off on something. Come in with a little more solvent. Always have time to manipulate it. Go on heavy. Just stay active. Stay engaged. Best way to describe my process for washing. He's starting to look a lot more dramatic. Look at this guy. All right, so cotton swab. Mr. Hobby actually sells special cotton swabs that are very tight packed and like the fibers don't, shed. But what I like to do is just dip it in the solvent, get it kind of wet, and just subtract some of the excess wash from some of the, prettier highlighted sections, make them look their best. You don't have to go crazy here. Just a couple dabs, lean on some of the solvent. It'll blend in. So there you go. Beautiful. Really make that red pop. And you can really use this wash without any kind of varnish, anything. Like, it doesn't really interact negatively with the paint. Like, we just airbrushed this model, and now we're slapping all this wash on it. Who cares? All right, transparent green, creature caster, let's do it. I'm just gonna pull it right out of the pot and paint this tassel right over the ivory. See how pretty that green looks? Man, sort of reminds me of something. I've seen this before, like an off-white eggshell, kind of a bone color, and kind of a transparent paint right over it. That's interesting. I don't know what I'm thinking of. So it's a beautiful looking color. Big shout out to Creature Caster, just launched their transparent line. These are basically just paints that are heavily pigmented and very thin. Very easy to work with. I've had a lot of fun with them. We did some lightning effects with them and everything. Easy to create glow effects, OSLs, anything you want. All right, burnt orange, one of my favorite new colors from the line. We're gonna use this and just drop off some highlights on the rims of the red. Now, I like to use this burnt orange. Also, they make an ochre color that works really well for this, so you can just combo off any orange and ochre in your collection. It gives, well, not any orange, like a burnt orange, a desaturated orange. Any burnt orange, any ochre in combo will really give you a nice, clean highlight to red without, distorting the red or pulling it too far away from red. One of my favorite techniques for doing berserkers. Just nice thin lines. This is where we're going to be somewhat precise, just carving the lines. Inner field up against the trim gives you a nice effect. Top of the boots, you know, going to get inside the shoulder pads, just anywhere I feel like we need to go to really make this guy look his best. It's up to you. You don't have to trace every line, but I will do the Galactus horns on this Khorne Berserker's helmet. Just drop a couple cool lines in there. Stay fresh. My dude's a gangster. He's always got to get, you know, his lines taped in, looking his best. Beautiful. Just carve it up. Like I said, if you want to use ochre and go up another notch, you can. I do it all the time. I think it looks amazing. He's already looking so much better than my old berserkers from back in the day. So speaking of ochre, I just grabbed the first ochre that near me on my desk. Just add to it, thin it down, put a little bit into the burnt orange, just give it a nice, extra plow, the sound of that highlight. Drop some in on the fields. There you go. Damn. I can't remember the last time I painted a Khorne Berserker. Gotta be over a decade. Whew. Flashbacks. The realness. All right. So he's looking pretty good, but there's a few more effects we can lock in. I'm thinking that maybe it's time to finish highlighting his face now that he's taken an oil wash. Just go back to the Ivory. Just, download it precisely on some of those cheekbones, the brow ridges. You're going to have to make some shit up here. Get the top of the nose, but that oil wash did a lot of work there, helping create contrast. Cut in on the teeth. Anything you want. Just, you can trace out kind of the trim, the arrow on his helmet. Spare no expense. Make your one Khorne Berserker look awesome, if that's what you're into. I don't pay nearly enough of these guys to slack, so I'm going to just drop a couple cool things. Boom. And I am really trying to chase that next level painting system. We're going to grab some more of that ivory and neutral gray work up, and we're going to just drag a couple of more precise lines into the glove, giving us that OG flair. Nothing we're doing in this video takes any actual skill. This is 100% technique oriented. This is the next level painting system. We took them with a clean airbrush coat, knocked out the details, hit them with a wash, and now we're just doing a couple of selective highlights, calling them done. Doesn't take a whole lot to get this to look this way. Now you can use the transparent green, just slap it into his eye sockets, thin it down a little bit. Be careful, use a gentle touch. Just build it up. You can give yourself a little OSL glowy eye effect, man. Shout out to the transparents. Here's our Khorne Berserker looking his best. Man, that was a fun workup. I hope he does work for me this weekend at my tournament. Look, guys, thanks for checking out all my content and supporting me on all the channels like, Patreon and Twitch, but also my new swag shop. It has truly inspired me to pull out my pens, my papers, my Sharpies, and to just start banging out some illustration, man. That's some shit I haven't done in years, guys. And just having a swag shop, the opportunity to put something on a shirt has really just made me want to do some cool things. And so, hey, if you're watching this video in honor of Khorne, we've got the War Legion design fresh off the press. Legion's collection. You're watching this video, 15% off right here. Promo code Legions. Play on, players.